Welcome back to Kin in Line. I'll make this part 72, having, with the previous one, made the mistake of calling it 70 instead of 71. Anyway, so Anne's father had good connections in the farming community around Graaff-Reinet. And on one occasion, when I was up there, they invited me along. They were going to do some clay-pigeon shooting out on a farm somewhere. So I went along with some paper and did some sketches using some sort of, looks like charcoal almost, or some sort of soft pencil. And this is a guy on his haunches with his shotgun sort of folded open, waiting to have a go. This is Anne's dad, Philip. Distinctive sort of beard and glasses and that. And then it was a question of trying to capture these guys as they fired. So this chap's sort of in motion there as he follows the flight of this thing that they fire out. Clay pigeon, I guess it is. Did one drawing I did in just ballpoint pen. All of these are watercolored later. But yeah, so here we have a again, it's be quite nice to see these combined and mounted together, so you get the sense of the whole event. So here you can see the rifles actually moved from right to left. It's that sense of movement that I wanted to capture. I mean, we did it at art school with the model moving around, and that's life, you know, people are always moving. This was the son of the farmer, slightly round-faced chap. Another one done in pen and ink, with the rifle in his hand there. And my loose painting technique, which I think works quite well. You don't want things to look too sort of coloured in, then it just looks boring. This was one of them. He has obviously got some earmuff type sound suppressor or whatever. And this was the fascinating part. So a young coloured guy or African, he had to operate the firing device, which we'll see in the next picture. So it was set up on a big drum, sort of a, what was it, 60-gallon drum or whatever those things were called. And then he had to just pull some lever and these things got fired away. It was totally not part of the thing at all, you know, it was the old master-servant relationship, because these were the main mana firing away. But again, they gave me scope to do some art. And who was I to complain, you know? I was the guest. So yeah, interesting interlude. And I've forgotten I'd done this little pen and ink of one of those historic Graaff-Reinet houses with its Cape Dutch architecture. There are so many heritage sites in Graaff-Reinet. I think it's the most dense in the country. And this actually is a view from Toposcope on the way to the Valley of Desolation of a corner of Graaff-Reinet. I think there might be a school one of the schools is Union High, and there's an Afrikaans school as well. And here we're up in the Valley of Desolation again, with using that same paper, I think, watercolored it later. And then, as I said, I used to accompany Anne's brothers and so forth. She had two brothers, so I think that's her on the left, or in the middle maybe. No, I think it's on the left, and that might be one of her brothers with a pair of binocs on the right. Not sure who the other person is. It might have been her other brother. Hair looks a bit long though. And then Spandau Kop again. I think it's quite a successful drawing. And then a big church. I didn't have paper big enough to fit it all in, so I basically used two pieces of paper. It's a wonderful church, cathedral almost, in the heart of Graaff-Reinet. It's a Dutch Reformed. It's certainly eye-catching. And then I think, what we're on here now is a trip I did with her folks to Maritzburg from Graaff-Reinet. So we went up north of Lesotho, around the northern flank of the Maluti Mountains. And so as we went along, this was in about 1985, I sketched the landscape. Sometimes I can't even tell which way up it is now. Must be like that. Anyway, and then I coloured them in watercoloured them later. Some of them were quite effective little. Again, these would look nice presented together. I can just get it. There we go. So it's kind of a shorthand. But if you know these mountains, you'll recognize the shapes. And then I think the colour, I've just used a sort of loose palette. But these are all sandstone, so the shapes are pretty interesting. I'm not sure if we went past a dam, because there is the Lesotho Highlands project. We might have even gone through Lesotho. I just sort of was being a son driven by parents-in-law, so just spent the whole time sketching. There were plenty of drawings done on this trip, I have to say. But like the ones I did in Europe, like painted them, coloured them in later with watercolours. Let's see. So this was like a big ship of the desert, of the veldt. And these koppies or mountains, little mountains, all have these gnarled aspects to them. Really scenic area. Again, this would really work nicely if each was individually framed and kept as a record, a sort of a documentation of a journey through that area. There's a couple of really interesting ones here. Here you get the sense of perspective with the road ahead. It was a pleasure not to be driving to and from the army, though, I must say. I think my watercolouring is quite inspired in places. So a good frame around this would really lift the colours, and because here we've got white on white and it's not really working. Here's a more conventional type of drawing of a copy. But I really was having to churn these out very quickly because we weren't stationary at the time. Nice limited palette here, dark. It will just focus, of course. Oh, there we go. Now there is a mountain just outside Graaff-Reinet with this kind of shaped thing on top. I think that's what this one is. So this must have been soon after we left. But these wide-ranging ones are definitely in the Free State, just north of Lesotho. Here's a more conventional one again. Flat landscape. Wonderful copies just as far as the eye can see. It's South Africa with its open space. Okay. Yeah, can't believe how many of these I did. And then I would have watercolored them all in one fell swoop. Just to, once you're sort of in the zone, as it were, you just don't stop. And it's a case of whether these are inspired brush strokes or are they going to destroy your drawing. And I think personally that most of these worked pretty damn well. We're not at the end, but we're at a point where I can make a transition. So let's just conclude this part with this lovely array of mountains in the Malooties. Till the next time, cheers.